Sarah's hand trembled as she grabbed her phone. The screen showed 3:47 a.m. She didn't recognize the number, but instinct made her answer. "Sarah? Oh God, Sarah, is that you?" The panic in the voice jolted her instantly awake. It was her sister, Emma. "Emma, what's wrong?" He's dead. Sarah, Mark's dead. In the house, in the kitchen. There's blood everywhere." Sarah's heart began hammering in her chest. Emma's husband, Mark. Just 2 days ago, they'd had dinner together, laughing, joking around. "Did you call the police?" "They just got here. Sarah, I'm scared. I'm so scared." Emma's voice was shaking, almost dissolving into a whisper. Then the line went dead. Sarah threw off the blanket and pulled on whatever clothes she could find. Emma's house was 20 minutes away, but Sarah made it in 13. The street was lit up with the blue and red lights of police cruisers. Neighbors were peering from windows. Yellow tape wrapped around the house like a sinister ribbon. "I'm Sarah Williams, Emma's sister." She tried to push past an officer. "Sorry, ma'am. This is a crime scene. You can't go in." "Where's my sister?" The officer pointed to an ambulance. Sarah ran. Emma sat in the back, wearing a blood-stained nightgown, her eyes completely vacant. Sarah crouched down and wrapped her arms around her. Emma's body felt like ice. "What happened, Em? What happened to you?" Emma's lips moved, but no sound came out. Then she whispered, "I don't know. When I woke up, he was like that. The kitchen floor, Sarah. Everything was red." A detective approached, middle-aged, tired-looking man. "Ms. Williams, I'm Detective Ramirez. We need to speak with your sister." "Now? In this condition?" "Unfortunately, yes. Time is of critical importance." Sarah went to the station with Emma, holding her hand tightly. The interrogation room was cold and sterile. They gave Emma a blanket and hot tea, but she couldn't stop shaking. "Mrs. Clark, can you walk me through tonight?" Emma closed her eyes. "It was a normal night. Mark came home late, after 10, I think. He looked tired. We had dinner, watched TV, went to bed around 11. Any arguments?" "No, everything was normal." "Continue." "I heard something during the night, like a crash, coming from the kitchen. I thought Mark got up to get something. I went back to sleep." Emma's voice cracked. "In the morning, well, after midnight, I got thirsty. I went downstairs and—" Tears started flowing. Sarah touched her shoulder. "I found him on the kitchen floor, face down. There was so much blood around him. The back of his head. Oh, God." Emma clutched her head in her hands. "Did you see a weapon? Anything?" "No, nothing. Just Mark and the blood." Ramirez took notes. "Were the windows locked?" "I think so. We always lock them." "There are no signs of forced entry on the doors. Do you have an alarm system?" "Yes, but Mark sometimes forgot to set it." "Was it on tonight?" Emma thought. "I don't know. I can't remember." The questioning went on for hours. Same questions, same answers. By morning, Sarah took Emma to her own house. Emma just sat on the couch, staring at nothing. The next day, the news exploded. "Successful businessman brutally murdered in his home," screamed the headlines. Mark's business partner was on television crying. Friends were sending flowers. But something felt off to Sarah. Emma was playing the grieving widow on TV, but Sarah had known her for years. This felt like a performance, too perfect, too rehearsed. On the third day, Ramirez called again. "Miss Williams, I need to speak with your sister. New information has come to light." "What kind of information?" "I'd prefer to explain in person." This time, they questioned Emma at Sarah's house. Ramirez pulled out a file. "Mrs. Clark, were you aware of your husband's life insurance policy?" Emma looked up. "Yes, of course. We both have policies." A $2 million policy. He updated it last month. You're the beneficiary. Isn't that normal? Don't married couples do that? Of course. Ramirez leaned forward. But did you know your husband was having problems with his company? They've lost $300,000 in the last 6 months. They were on the verge of bankruptcy. Emma's face went pale. No, Mark never told me anything. Strange, because his business partner, Mr. Harrison, says you and Mark constantly argued about this. Your neighbors also mentioned hearing shouting. They're lying! Are they? Ramirez opened another folder. We pulled your phone records, Mrs. Clark. You made 17 calls to a number registered to Daniel Cortez in the 3 weeks before your husband's death. Some calls lasted over an hour. Who is Daniel Cortez? Sarah felt her stomach drop. Emma's face had gone white as chalk.
He's a friend. An old friend from college. An old friend you've been calling in the middle of the night? An old friend whose apartment you visited 4 times last month, according to building security footage? We weren't. Emma started crying. You don't understand. Mark and I were having problems. I needed someone to talk to. Talk to? Ramirez nodded slowly. Mr. Cortez has an interesting background, Mrs. Clark. He's been arrested twice for assault. Once for breaking into an ex-girlfriend's apartment. Restraining order filed against him in 2019. Sarah grabbed the table edge. Emma, what the hell is going on? Nothing. I swear, Sarah, Daniel is just a friend. He was helping me through a difficult time. What difficult time? Sarah's voice was sharp now. You told me everything was fine with Mark. It wasn't fine. Emma's composure finally cracked completely. He was controlling, obsessive. He monitored my phone, my emails. I couldn't breathe. Daniel understood. He listened. Ramirez pulled out a plastic evidence bag. Inside was a phone. We found this hidden in your bedroom closet, Mrs. Clark, behind the shoebox. It's a burner phone. The only number called from this phone is Daniel Cortez. The last call was made at 11:43 p.m. on the night your husband died. The call lasted 2 minutes. The room went silent. Sarah stared at her sister, feeling like she was looking at a stranger. I want a lawyer. Smart choice. Ramirez stood up. Emma Clark, you are under arrest for the murder of Mark Clark. You have the right to remain silent. The words faded into background noise for Sarah. She watched as they handcuffed her sister, the woman who used to braid her hair, who taught her to ride a bike, who was her maid of honor at her wedding. Over the next weeks, the truth emerged piece by piece, each revelation more horrifying than the last. Daniel Cortez was arrested at his apartment. In his car trunk, they found a baseball bat wrapped in plastic with traces of Mark's blood still on it despite attempts to clean it. Security footage from a gas station 3 blocks from Emma's house showed Daniel's car at 11:52 p.m. on the night of the murder. Emma's burner phone contained text messages, deleted but recovered by forensics. He'll never let me go. Then we make him let go. Permanently. I'm scared. I'll take care of everything. You just have to leave the back door unlocked. The prosecutor laid it out at trial. Emma had been planning this for months. She'd reconnected with Daniel through social media, rekindled an old romance. When Mark's business started failing, she saw an opportunity. The life insurance would pay out. She'd be free, wealthy, and with Daniel. On the night of the murder, Emma had drugged Mark's evening drink with sleeping pills, traces found in his blood work. She'd left the back door unlocked as planned. Daniel had entered at 11:55 p.m., found Mark unconscious in the kitchen where he'd stumbled while trying to get water, dizzy from the drugs. Daniel had beaten him to death with the bat, 17 blows to the head and body. Then he'd left the way he came. Emma had waited 30 minutes before calling the police, enough time for Daniel to get away. She'd rehearsed her shocked wife routine. She'd planned every detail. Except she hadn't planned on the burner phone, hadn't realized Mark's business partner had seen her with Daniel at a hotel bar 2 weeks before the murder, hadn't known her neighbor had a security camera that caught Daniel's car on the street. The jury took 4 hours to convict. Emma Clark,
guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder. Daniel Cortez, guilty of first-degree murder. Sarah sat in the courtroom gallery as the judge sentenced her sister to life without parole. Emma turned to look at her one last time. Her eyes were pleading, desperate. Sarah looked away. That night, Sarah sat in her apartment, looking through old photo albums. Pictures of Emma as a bridesmaid at her wedding, both of them laughing. Emma holding Sarah's baby daughter, her face full of love. Family Christmas dinners, summer vacations, birthdays. When had it changed? When had her sister become capable of murder? Sarah's phone buzzed. A blocked number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her.
Sarah, please, you have to listen to me. It was Emma, calling from prison. I have nothing to say to you. I didn't do it. Sarah, you have to believe me. Daniel set me up. Yes, we were having an affair, but I never wanted Mark dead. Never. The evidence was planted. Those text messages, I never sent them. Someone had access to that phone. Daniel must have... Stop it, Emma. Just stop. Sarah, please, I'm your sister. You know me. You know I couldn't kill someone. Sarah closed her eyes. Did she know that? She'd thought she knew Emma completely. But people kept secrets. People lied. People changed. I can't help you. There's something else. Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. Something I never told the police. That night, when I went downstairs, I saw someone. Not Daniel. Someone else. Running out the back door. I only saw them for a second, but... Emma. It was a woman, Sarah. Short dark hair, wearing a leather jacket. I know I saw her. Why didn't you tell the police? Because I was scared. Because I thought they'd think I was making it up. But I'm telling you now, someone else was there. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Emma, even if that's true, find out who she is. Please, you're the only one who can help me now. The line went dead. Sarah sat in the darkness, her mind racing. Emma was a liar, a manipulator, probably a murderer. But what if? No, she couldn't go down that road. She couldn't let Emma manipulate her too. But the doubt had been planted. The next morning, Sarah called Detective Ramirez. The woman Emma claims to have seen, did you investigate that? She never mentioned a woman to us. She says she did. She's lying, Miss Williams. She lied about everything else. Why would this be different? But what if she's not? What if someone else was involved? Ramirez sighed. We investigated every angle. The evidence against your sister and Daniel Cortez is overwhelming. There was no third party. Did you check Mark's business partners? Enemies? What if someone else wanted him dead? Miss Williams, I understand this is difficult, but your sister murdered her husband for insurance money. That's the truth. Sarah hung up, but she couldn't shake the feeling. She started digging on her own. She contacted Mark's business partner, Harrison. Did Mark have any enemies? Anyone who might want him dead? Harrison looked uncomfortable. Mark had complicated business dealings. There were people who weren't happy with him. What kind of people? Investors who lost money, a woman who claimed Mark stole her business idea. She sued him last year, but the case was dismissed. What was her name? Vanessa Torres. But she's not a killer, just an angry former associate. Sarah found Vanessa Torres on social media. Short, dark hair, athletic build. In several photos, she was wearing a leather jacket. Sarah's hands started shaking. She dug deeper. Vanessa Torres had been at a business conference the night of Mark's murder, or so she claimed. But Sarah found a charge on her credit card for gas purchased at 11:47 p.m. 3 miles from Emma's house. She brought everything to Ramirez. He looked through the evidence reluctantly. This is circumstantial at best. But you'll look into it? Miss Williams, your sister and her boyfriend are guilty. This doesn't change that. But what if Vanessa hired Daniel? What if Emma's affair just gave them the perfect cover? Ramirez studied her for a long moment. I'll make some calls.
3 days later, Ramirez called her back. "You might want to sit down." "What did you find?" Vanessa Torres and Daniel Cortez knew each other. They met at a gym 2 years ago. We pulled her bank records. She paid him $15,000 3 weeks before the murder, listed as personal training services. Sarah's heart was pounding. So Emma was telling the truth. Partially. Your sister was still involved. The affair, the insurance policy, drugging Mark, that was all real. But it looks like Vanessa approached Daniel, knew about his relationship with Emma, and used it. She paid him to kill Mark, knowing Emma would take the fall. Why? Mark didn't just steal her business idea. He stole $3 million from her through a shell company. She spent years trying to prove it legally and failed, so she decided on revenge. They arrested Vanessa Torres at her office. She confessed almost immediately with a strange smile on her face. Emma was so stupid, so easy to manipulate. She thought she was so clever, having her affair, making her little plans. She had no idea I was watching the whole time, using her. Mark took everything from me. I made sure his cheating wife would spend the rest of her life in prison for what I did. Emma's conviction was overturned on appeal, but she wasn't freed. She was retried and convicted again, this time as an accessory to murder. The drugging, the unlocked door, the cover-up. 10 years instead of life. Daniel Cortez got life without parole for being the actual killer. Vanessa Torres got 25 years. Sarah visited Emma in prison one last time. "I'm sorry," she said, "for all of it, for the affair, for the lies. I never wanted Mark dead, but I helped make it happen, even if I didn't know the whole truth." "I know." "Will you forgive me?" Sarah looked at her sister, this woman she'd loved her whole life, who'd made such terrible choices. "I don't know. Maybe someday. That's more than I deserve." Sarah left the prison and drove home as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. She thought about trust, about family, about the secrets people keep, and the lies they tell themselves. She thought about how one terrible decision can spiral into horror, how 3 people's greed and anger and weakness had converged into murder. And she thought about Mark, who would never see another sunset, whose life had been stolen by people he thought he knew. The case was closed now. Justice, in some form, had been served, but Sarah knew she'd carry the weight of it forever. The knowledge that her own sister had helped murder her husband, even if she didn't swing the bat herself. Some truths once learned can never be forgotten. Some wounds never fully heal, and some families shatter in ways that can never be repaired.